What do Kate Middleton's expressions during the Queen's procession really reveal? Were they merely a reflection of grief, or did they hint at the immense weight of her evolving role within the royal family? As the world watched the grandeur of the Queen's final farewell, it was the quiet, unspoken moments, especially those involving the Princess of Wales, that sparked the most intrigue. From fleeting glances to composed gestures, Kate's presence seemed to carry layers of meaning that left many wondering about the future of the monarchy itself. Why did Kate's demeanor captivate millions during such a solemn occasion? Was her poise a symbol of strength or a reflection of the quiet burdens she now bears? And how do her expressions connect to the monarchy's transition into this new era? Let's dive into the procession, the subtle signs, and the deeper story behind one of the most scrutinized figures of the royal family. The streets of London stood still as the Queen's procession made its way through a sea of silent spectators. The air was heavy, not just with the weight of history, but with the palpable grief of a nation saying farewell to its longest reigning monarch. For millions watching, it was a moment etched in time, a final goodbye to a figure who had been the epitome of grace and stability. Among the crowd of stoic faces, one stood out: Kate Middleton, Princess of Wales. Her expressions, subtle yet deeply telling, became the focal point of widespread speculation. As the cameras lingered on her, capturing every fleeting glance and tightened jaw, it became clear that her demeanor was more than mere solemnity. It was as though Kate carried a dual burden: the personal sorrow of losing a grandmother-in-law who had been her guide, and the immense weight of representing the future of the monarchy. Her expressions, poised yet poignant, became the subject of countless debates, raising questions about what they might reveal about her true thoughts on this monumental day. Kate Middleton's journey to the heart of the royal family had been one of transformation and quiet resilience. As the procession unfolded, it was impossible not to reflect on how far she had come. From her early days as the girlfriend of a prince to becoming the Princess of Wales, Kate had been thrust into a role that demanded unwavering composure. Over the years, she had navigated public scrutiny, familial challenges, and the shadow of a legendary predecessor, Princess Diana. Yet she had done so with a grace that seemed almost innate. But on this day, amid the grandeur and symbolism of the procession, her carefully cultivated poise seemed to falter ever so slightly. The Queen's passing marked the end of an era, a seismic shift not just for the monarchy but for the entire United Kingdom. It was a moment that forced every member of the royal family to confront their roles in a rapidly changing institution. For Kate, it was an opportunity to reflect on the legacy she would help carry forward. Her expressions during the procession suggested a depth of emotion that went beyond the immediate grief of loss. They hinted at the profound responsibility she now shoulders, not just as a wife and mother, but as a key figure in the future of the monarchy. The procession itself was a masterclass in ceremonial precision, a spectacle that combined centuries-old traditions with an overwhelming sense of collective mourning. Every step, every note of the solemn music seemed to echo the legacy of a monarch who had reigned for over 7 decades. For Kate, every moment in the spotlight was a test. The world watched as she walked behind the Queen's coffin, her posture impeccably straight, her gaze unwavering. Yet it was her fleeting glances, her moments of unguarded emotion, that captured attention. One particular moment stood out. As the coffin passed a group of mourners waving the Union Jack, Kate's lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes betraying a flicker of something unspoken. Was it a reflection of her grief, a silent acknowledgement of the enormity of the day, or perhaps a recognition of the challenges that lay ahead for the royal family? That single expression became a talking point, dissected by body language experts and royal watchers alike. The media, ever eager to find meaning in every royal gesture, quickly began to speculate. Some interpreted her demeanor as a testament to her strength, a reflection of her commitment to her role as Princess of Wales. Others saw it as a moment of vulnerability, a rare glimpse into the emotional toll of her position. For Kate, who had mastered the art of remaining composed under the public eye, these interpretations might have seemed both flattering and burdensome. As the day wore on, the procession revealed more of these quiet moments. Kate's interactions with other members of the royal family, though minimal, were carefully observed. A shared glance with Prince William, a subtle nod to King Charles, a fleeting moment of eye contact with Camilla. All of these were catalogued and analyzed. Together, they painted a picture of a woman navigating a delicate balance between duty and personal grief. But beneath the surface, there was more at play. The Queen's death marked the beginning of a new chapter for the monarchy, one where younger royals like Kate and William would take on even greater prominence. For Kate, this meant not only stepping into a role that required public admiration, but also one that demanded quiet strength within the royal family's inner dynamics. The weight of this transition was evident in her expressions, a mix of steely resolve and unspoken emotion. As the procession reached its final stages, the cameras lingered once more on Kate's face. The solemnity of the occasion was etched into her features, yet there was also a glimmer of something more profound, perhaps an acknowledgement of the enduring legacy she is now tasked with upholding. The Queen's reign had been defined by steadfast service and unwavering commitment. In Kate's expressions, many saw echoes of that same dedication, a silent promise to honor the past while embracing the challenges of the future. The weight of the day seemed to hang in the air long after the procession had ended. While the ceremony itself was a moment of unity and national mourning, the scrutiny that followed revealed the complexities faced by every member of the royal family. At the center of this intricate tapestry of tradition, duty, and public expectation stood Kate, whose role as Princess of Wales now carried greater significance than ever before. As the world mourned the passing of a monarch whose reign spanned over 7 decades, it became clear that the transition was more than symbolic. For Kate, the expectations placed upon her as the future queen consort were quietly woven into every aspect of the procession. The legacy of Queen Elizabeth II was a towering one, and the shadow it cast was as inspiring as it was daunting. But this was not Kate's first time navigating the delicate balance between personal emotion and public duty. It was, however, one of the most profound. In her years as a senior royal, Kate had become known for her composure and dedication, traits that endeared her to the public and positioned her as a modern role model within the monarchy. Yet the significance of her presence at this moment went far beyond individual perception. It was a reflection of a monarchy in transition, with younger members stepping into roles that required them to carry forward centuries of tradition while addressing the demands of a contemporary audience. Throughout the procession, Kate's expressions revealed glimpses of the person behind the public persona. In the solemnity of the occasion, her face told a story of quiet resilience. There was an unspoken understanding that she represented more than herself. She stood as a bridge between the monarchy's storied past and its uncertain future. Her every glance and gesture seemed to acknowledge the enormity of that responsibility, a reminder that the royal family's role extends beyond ceremonial duties. The journey that led Kate to this point had been one of transformation. From her early days as a university student meeting Prince William to becoming one of the most visible members of the royal family, she had evolved into a figure synonymous with grace under pressure. Her ability to adapt to the unique challenges of royal life had not gone unnoticed, but it was the subtleties of how she carried herself during pivotal moments that solidified her place in the monarchy. The Queen's procession was one such moment. It served as a public display of both mourning and strength, a duality that Kate seemed to embody. Her interactions during the day were minimal, yet they spoke volumes. A brief but reassuring glance at William conveyed unity amidst loss. A respectful nod to King Charles acknowledged the weight he now carried as monarch. Even her silence, which stretched throughout the day, felt intentional, an acknowledgement that words were unnecessary when history was being written. Public interpretations of Kate's demeanor varied widely. Some viewed her as a symbol of hope for the monarchy, a figure poised to lead the institution into a more modern era. Others saw her as a reflection of the human side of royalty, a grieving family member navigating a deeply personal loss under the microscope of public attention. These perspectives, though differing, pointed to a common thread: Kate's ability to resonate with people on multiple levels, blending relatability with the mystique expected of a royal. Yet behind the poised exterior, the realities of Kate's position were far more complex. The Princess of Wales title carried with it the legacy of Diana, whose shadow loomed large over the family and the public's imagination. Comparisons between the two women, though often unspoken, were inevitable. Diana's charisma and vulnerability had redefined what it meant to be a modern royal, and Kate's approach, while distinct, was often measured against that enduring image. On the day of the procession, the echoes of Diana's legacy were palpable. The parallels drawn between Kate and Diana weren't simply about their titles, but about their shared ability to connect with the public. It was a connection rooted in authenticity, a trait that Diana embodied and one that Kate had cultivated in her own way. While Diana's relationship with the monarchy had been turbulent, Kate's was marked by quiet perseverance, a determination to honor the institution while shaping it for the future. This balancing act was evident throughout the procession. As Kate walked alongside William, her expression suggested a deep awareness of the symbolism of the moment. She wasn't just a part of the royal family. She was a part of its evolution. The public's response to her presence reflected this, with many viewing her as a steadying force during a time of change. Her ability to embody both tradition and modernity had become one of her defining qualities. The expectations placed upon Kate were as much about the future as they were about the present. As the Princess of Wales, she represented the continuity of the monarchy, a role that demanded not only public approval, but also internal stability. The Queen's death had marked the end of an era, but it had also signaled the beginning of a new one, where younger royals like Kate and William would play an increasingly central role. For Kate, this transition was both an opportunity and a challenge. It was a chance to define her place in the monarchy's narrative, to build upon the legacy of those who came before her while carving out her own path. But it was also a test of her ability to navigate the complexities of a family and an institution under constant scrutiny. The Queen's procession was a reminder that the monarchy's strength lay in its ability to adapt, and Kate's presence was a testament to that adaptability. As the day drew to a close, the significance of Kate's role became even clearer. The procession wasn't just about paying tribute to a monarch, it was about charting a course for the monarchy's future. And in Kate's expressions, many saw a reflection of that journey. A blend of reverence for the past and a commitment to the road ahead. It was a moment that captured the essence of her position, a silent affirmation of her place in a family and a nation in transition. As the Queen's procession continued to command global attention, the solemn grandeur of the day was underscored by the intricate choreography of royal tradition. Every step, every nod, every pause seemed carefully calibrated to honor the Queen's unparalleled legacy. Amid this sea of formality, Kate's presence remained a point of fascination. Her expressions, though subtle, resonated deeply with viewers, offering glimpses of emotion that transcended the ceremonial precision of the event. The procession itself was a spectacle that demanded attention. Rows of military personnel marched in unison, their movements synchronized with an almost mechanical perfection. The haunting notes of bagpipes and drums filled the air, weaving a mournful symphony that reverberated through the silent streets of London. At the heart of this tableau was the Queen's coffin, draped in the royal standard and adorned with the imperial state crown, a symbol of a reign that had defined an era. Walking behind the coffin were members of the royal family, their faces stoic as they navigated this deeply public display of grief. Among them, Kate stood out not through grand gestures or overt displays of emotion, but through the quiet intensity of her presence. Her expressions, captured in fleeting moments by watchful cameras, spoke volumes to those willing to look beyond the surface. One particular moment that drew attention occurred as the procession passed the cenotaph, a monument that symbolizes sacrifice and national pride. As Kate approached the landmark, her gaze momentarily faltered, her eyes flickering with an emotion that was hard to define. It was a subtle shift, but one that hinted at the depth of her reflection. Some interpreted it as a moment of personal grief, a recognition of the Queen's immense contributions to the nation. Others saw it as a silent acknowledgement of the responsibility she now carries as part of the monarchy's next generation. Body language experts, ever eager to dissect royal demeanors, offered their interpretations. They noted the precision with which Kate balanced openness and restraint, suggesting that her controlled expressions were a testament to her understanding of the significance of the moment. For a figure as widely scrutinized as Kate, every movement was layered with meaning, each small gesture magnified by the collective gaze of millions. Observers also pointed to her interactions with William during the procession. The two were rarely seen exchanging words, but their body language spoke of a shared understanding. A brief glance from Kate to William as the coffin turned towards Westminster Abbey seemed to convey a silent message, perhaps of support, perhaps of resolve. It was a moment that highlighted the strength of their partnership, a bond forged not only in love but in shared duty. As the procession made its way through London, the public's eyes remained fixed on Kate, drawn to the quiet power she exuded. Her composure was a stark contrast to the emotional outpouring of the crowds lining the streets, yet it did not feel detached. Instead, it seemed to reflect the duality of her role, a family member grieving a personal loss, and a public figure embodying the continuity of the monarchy. This duality became even more evident during the service at Westminster Abbey. As hymns filled the historic space, Kate's expressions were once again the subject of fascination. Her downcast eyes during moments of prayer, her calm demeanor as the eulogies echoed through the vaulted ceilings, each gesture was interpreted as a blend of personal reflection and public duty. The service itself was a poignant reminder of the Queen's enduring legacy. The tributes paid to her life and reign were as much about celebrating her achievements as they were about acknowledging the void her passing had left. For Kate, it was a moment to not only honor the Queen but to reflect on what her absence meant for the monarchy. The torch had been passed, and with it came the responsibility of ensuring that the institution remained relevant in an ever-changing world. Public reaction to Kate's demeanor was swift and varied. On social media, countless posts praised her for embodying the grace and dignity that had come to define her role within the royal family. Some described her as a pillar of strength, while others noted the humanity in her restrained expressions. "She's not just a royal, she's one of us," one commentator wrote, capturing the sentiment of many who felt a connection to Kate's quiet grief. Yet not all reactions were uncritical. Some questioned whether her composure came across as too rehearsed, a reminder of the tightrope walk that members of the royal family must navigate. For Kate, the challenge lay in balancing the public's expectation of accessibility with the need to maintain the mystique that has long been central to the monarchy's allure. It was a balancing act she had perfected over the years, but moments like these brought the tension to the forefront. As the day progressed, the focus shifted to the monarchy's future. With the Queen's passing, the spotlight inevitably turned to the younger royals, particularly Kate and William. The public's interest in their role as the new face of the monarchy was reflected in the way every aspect of their participation in the procession was analyzed. From Kate's sartorial choices, her black ensemble subtly adorned with pearls, a nod to royal mourning traditions, to the measured pace of her walk, everything seemed imbued with significance. But beyond the symbolism, there was a sense of anticipation. The procession was not just an end, it was a beginning. For Kate, it was a moment to demonstrate her readiness to step into an even more prominent role within the royal family. Her expressions, though understated, seemed to carry a quiet assurance that she was prepared for the road ahead. The magnitude of the occasion was undeniable, and Kate's ability to navigate it with poise and authenticity spoke to her understanding of the moment's importance. As the procession wound its way towards its conclusion, the public's attention lingered on her, drawn to the subtle strength she projected. In her, many saw a reflection of the monarchy's enduring ability to adapt, to evolve while remaining rooted in tradition. As the procession transitioned into quieter moments of reflection, the complexity of the day began to settle more deeply in the minds of observers. The solemnity of the occasion had drawn together an intricate tapestry of traditions, emotions, and expectations. But it was the subtleties, those fleeting exchanges and unspoken gestures, that continued to capture attention. For Kate, these moments were more than just personal. They spoke to the intricate dynamics of the royal family and the shifting roles within its hierarchy. The Queen's death had created a vacuum, not only as the head of state, but as the matriarch of a family bound as much by duty as by blood. With her passing, long-standing relationships within the family were being redefined. and the public couldn't help but speculate on how this would shape the monarchy's future. Kate's expressions during the procession seemed to mirror these questions, reflecting an awareness of the complexities at play. Her interactions with other members of the royal family offered a glimpse into the layered nature of these dynamics. A brief moment between Kate and King Charles was particularly noted. As the two exchanged a glance during the procession, observers read into the nuances of their interaction. Respect mingled with the shared weight of their responsibilities. For Charles, now thrust into the role of monarch after decades of waiting, the pressure to both honor his mother's legacy and chart a new path forward was immense. For Kate, the expectations were no less significant. She stood as both a supportive daughter-in-law and a key figure in the monarchy's modern narrative. The family's dynamics were further highlighted by the presence of other senior royals, including Queen Camilla and Princess Anne. Camilla's own expressions during the day carried their own story, one of quiet resolve and perhaps a recognition of the scrutiny she still faced in her role as queen consort. For Kate, standing alongside these figures underscored the generational bridge she represented, a connection between the traditions of the past and the modernity the monarchy sought to embrace. But perhaps the most talked about aspect of the day was Kate's indirect interaction with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Their presence at the procession marked a rare public appearance with the royal family, reigniting speculation about the fractures within the family. While the day's focus remained on the Queen's legacy, the sight of Harry and Meghan walking several steps behind other senior royals reminded the public of the unresolved tensions that had long simmered beneath the surface. Kate's expressions during moments when she was near Harry and Meghan were subtle, yet they spoke volumes to those paying close attention. Some saw them as a reflection of restraint, a conscious effort to maintain decorum amidst underlying tensions. Others interpreted them as a silent acknowledgement of the complexities that had come to define the relationship between the Sussexes and the rest of the family. In a way, Kate's demeanor served as a reminder of her role as a steadying presence within a family navigating internal divisions. As the procession moved toward its conclusion, the weight of the Queen's absence became increasingly palpable. The younger generation of royals, particularly Kate and William, were now being viewed not just as heirs to titles but as the embodiment of the monarchy's continuity. For Kate, this meant embracing an even more prominent role, one that required her to balance personal authenticity with the demands of a public constantly seeking connection and meaning in her every move. The public's reaction to Kate's presence during the procession was a testament to her ability to bridge this divide. On one hand, she was seen as a relatable figure, a mother and wife navigating the same grief that so many others were experiencing. On the other, she was a symbol of the institution itself, a reminder of the monarchy's enduring place in the nation's identity. This dual role was not new to Kate, but the enormity of the Queen's passing made it more visible than ever before. Observers were quick to draw comparisons between Kate and other iconic figures in royal history, particularly Princess Diana. While these comparisons often carried a sense of inevitability, they also highlighted the unique approach Kate had taken in carving out her own legacy. Where Diana had been known for her emotional openness and at times rebellious spirit, Kate's strength lay in her quiet resilience and unwavering commitment to her role. The procession showcased this difference, with Kate's composed demeanor serving as a counterbalance to the emotional intensity of the day. Yet even amidst this poise, there were moments when the weight of the occasion seemed to break through. As the family gathered for a final prayer, Kate's eyes lowered in a moment of reflection, her expression softening into one of profound solemnity. It was a brief but telling glimpse of the personal grief she carried, one that resonated with viewers who saw in her a reflection of their own emotions. The significance of these moments extended beyond the immediate. They spoke to the broader narrative of the monarchy's evolution, one where tradition and modernity were constantly in conversation. For Kate, her role in this narrative was one of mediation, not just between generations, but between the expectations of the institution and the realities of a world that demanded greater transparency and relatability. As the day came to a close, the public's focus on Kate did not waver. Her ability to navigate the complexities of the procession, from her subtle interactions with family members to her composed yet heartfelt demeanor, solidified her place as one of the monarchy's most pivotal figures. The Queen's absence was deeply felt, but in Kate, many saw a reflection of the qualities that had defined the late monarch: grace, duty, and an unyielding commitment to service. As the day drew to its solemn conclusion, the echoes of the Queen's procession lingered in the minds of millions. The grandeur of the event, steeped in centuries of tradition, had left its mark, but it was the quieter moments, those fleeting expressions and unspoken gestures that continued to resonate. For Kate, these moments were not only a testament to her role within the monarchy, but also a reflection of the profound transition the royal family was undergoing. The passing of the Queen had marked the end of an era, and with it came the pressing question of what the monarchy's future would look like. As a new generation of royals stepped into more prominent roles, the spotlight naturally shifted to Kate and William. Their journey as the Prince and Princess of Wales had only just begun, but the responsibilities they now faced were immense. The procession served as a poignant reminder of this reality, with every detail scrutinized for what it might reveal about the road ahead. Kate's expressions during the day hinted at an understanding of this weight, a quiet acknowledgement of the challenges she and William would inevitably face as they worked to balance tradition with the demands of a modern world. While the Queen's reign had been defined by her steadfastness and consistency, the new chapter of the monarchy would require something different, a blend of continuity and adaptability. For Kate, this meant stepping into a role that required her to connect with a more diverse and dynamic public, while still upholding the values that had long defined the institution. Throughout the procession, her demeanor projected a sense of calm and resolve, qualities that had become synonymous with her public image. But beneath this exterior was a woman deeply aware of the expectations placed upon her. The Princess of Wales title carried with it a legacy that was both inspiring and daunting, a role steeped in history and shaped by the influence of those who had come before her. Kate's ability to navigate this duality, to honor the past while embracing the present, had become one of her defining traits. The public's response to Kate's presence at the procession underscored this sentiment. For many, she represented a source of stability during a time of uncertainty, a figure who embodied the qualities of grace and composure that the monarchy so often relied upon. Yet, her relatability also shone through. In her moments of quiet reflection and restrained emotion, people saw a glimpse of their own experiences with loss and responsibility. This connection, so carefully cultivated over the years, was a testament to Kate's understanding of her role as both a royal and a public figure. As the procession gave way to quieter moments of remembrance, the focus shifted to what the future might hold for the monarchy. The responsibilities now resting on Kate and William's shoulders were not only about preserving the institution, but also about redefining it. The challenges they faced were numerous: a changing societal landscape, increasing calls for transparency and modernization, and the ever-present scrutiny of a global audience. For Kate, these challenges were not new, but the stakes had never been higher. The Queen's legacy loomed large over the family, a benchmark against which all future royals would inevitably be measured. Her ability to maintain the monarchy's relevance while navigating decades of social and political change was unparalleled. For Kate, this legacy served as both a guide and a challenge, a reminder of the importance of consistency, but also a call to innovate and evolve. The procession had been a moment to honor the Queen's life, but it was also a moment to reflect on how the monarchy might move forward. The role of the Princess of Wales, once held by Diana, carried with it an added layer of complexity. While Diana's tenure in the role had been marked by her emotional openness and ability to connect with the public, Kate's approach had been more measured, rooted in a sense of duty and quiet determination. These differences, while often noted, highlighted the evolving nature of the monarchy itself. Where Diana had been a figure of transformation, Kate represented a figure of continuity, a bridge between the values of the past and the needs of the present. Kate's expressions during the Queen's procession seemed to encapsulate this balance. In her moments of solemnity, there was a reverence for the history she was a part of. In her interactions with family members and the public, there was a glimpse of her understanding of the role she would play in shaping the monarchy's future. These moments, though subtle, carried a weight that was felt far beyond the immediate. The day's events also served as a reminder of the importance of unity within the royal family. The presence of Harry and Meghan at the procession had reignited discussions about the divisions that had come to light in recent years. While the day was a time for collective mourning, it also highlighted the fractures that still existed within the family. For Kate, this added another layer of complexity to her role. As a figure of stability and diplomacy, she was often seen as a mediator, someone who could help bridge the gaps that had formed. Whether this was a realistic expectation or an unfair burden, it was a narrative that continued to follow her. As the sun set on a day filled with emotion and reflection, the monarchy stood at a crossroads. The Queen's procession had been a moment to honor the past, but it was also a moment to look forward. For Kate, it was a day that symbolized the duality of her role, to preserve the traditions that had defined the monarchy while helping to guide it into a new era. Her expressions, her gestures, and her presence all spoke to this delicate balance, a testament to the depth of her understanding of what was at stake. In the days that followed, the public continued to discuss the procession and the roles played by each member of the royal family. But it was Kate's quiet strength that lingered in the minds of many. Her ability to navigate the complexities of the day with such grace was a reflection of the qualities that had made her a central figure in the monarchy's evolution. The procession had been a moment of transition, not just for the royal family, but for the nation itself. And in Kate, many saw a reflection of the hope and resilience that would carry the monarchy forward. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.